All right, sharing the screen now. Bring up the screen. Share screen. All right. Share. No share. So I'm saying. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to have persons joining in, especially in light of the fact that we'll be speaking on a very critical issue, the importance of event data recorders, black boxes, and infotainment system in traffic crash investigation analysis. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for spending the time. I know your time is very valuable, and we are happy from the Ministry of Transport and Mining, Road Safety Unit, that you would have chosen to join. Thank you very much. So we will, in this presentation, we'll be speaking a lot about the event data recorders, and also we'll speak a little about the infotainment system, more specifically the Bluetooth technology that exists in motor vehicles, and also to share critical pieces of information with you as it relates to how this type of information is used in the analysis, investigation, and reconstruction of traffic crashes. My name is Kenute Hare. I am presently the Director of the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport and Works. I have approximately 20 plus years involved in road safety at different levels. I am also involved in training and also involved in delivering presentations across, not only in Jamaica, but also in the Caribbean. And I play a critical role in terms of training police officers, not only in Jamaica, but I assisted in Guyana also. And therefore, it's by virtue of that why I believe that we need to know why we should investigate traffic crashes. The United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety is 2011 to 2020, and it has 5 pillars inside of it. In terms of Pillar 5 speaks to the fact that Activity 5 of Pillar 5 speaks to the fact that we need to ensure that there is thorough investigation in traffic crashes and application of an effective legal response to road deaths and injuries, and therefore encourage fair settlements and justice for the bereaved and injured. And therefore, that is one of the plank on which reasons why nation states across the world have to ensure that traffic crashes are properly investigated and analyzed in order to meet the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety obligations. And I must say, many states across the world have put systems in place to ensure that this is done. So today, our focus will only be on 2 technologies that exist in motor vehicles that can aid persons who are involved in traffic crashes, aid persons who are involved in the investigation and the litigation of traffic crashes. So persons who could benefit from this are persons like lawyers, to a large extent doctors also, insurance personnel, police officers, private motor vehicle investigators, companies with fleets of motor vehicles. And we will speak about a lot of other issues that will arise as we go along. Now, one of the things that we must remember, some time ago, this is a tweet that was done on the 14th of April, 2017, at 9:55 p.m., right? Which speaks to the use of event data recorders. Basically, event data recorder in your motor vehicle, inside of it is an airbag control module, right? And inside of this airbag control module, there is an event data recorder inside of it. It is otherwise called a black box. It operates similar to like the black box in the plane, but I want to make it clear that it's only for vehicles equipped with airbags. So I like to posit it this way. remember now, if you have a cell phone and it cannot go on the internet, we call it a banger's phone. So motor vehicles that don't have airbags, these motor vehicles are known as, I call those vehicles banger's vehicles. Now the vehicles that are equipped with airbags, we call them smart vehicle. Now the vehicles that are equipped with airbags and Bluetooth technology, we call it smarter vehicles. Some of the information that you can get from this airbag control module, the airbag, once a vehicle is equipped with airbag, it has an airbag control module, right? Inside of that airbag control module is a black box. So inside of your motor car, somewhere in your motor car, it is this airbag control module. It is not black, it is silver in color, right? Is an airbag control module that is recording driver behavior and a lot of things that drivers are doing. It's recording everything that you are doing in the motor vehicle. And I'm gonna show you some stuff that it is showcasing. There's a device, a crash data retrieval device that is used to collect the data. It is connected both to the laptop computer that must have the program, and then it's connected also to the airbag control module, which exists in the motor vehicle. And from then, the data is collected and then a report is transmitted from the vehicle. And this report is what is used to analyze driver behavior and the crashes, right? Also, now I want to make something clear. There are many jurisdictions that once this technology is available, it's being leveraged. The data acquired is not limited to, but it includes acceleration, it includes seatbelt usage, it includes brake, whether driver foot is on brake or off brake. It's also used to obtain crash data and pre-crash data. It also obtain what is known as crash severity data, right? It's also used to highlight speed data and also steering input. Very important also, the black box is recording is the maneuver of the vehicle. So you can then know what the driver was doing at the time. Now, for legal purposes, we also need to understand that this airbag control module is also recording data as it relates to the crash itself. It aids in the determination of certain crash possibilities, and it's prepared to explain the crash itself. It's also very good, very good to deal with fraudulent claims also too, and to make accurate defensible determination where liability is questioned. Could everyone who online just mute their thing, please? We'll allow for questions as soon as I kind of get enough feedback. Could everybody mute, please? Right. Speed can be acquired up to 5 seconds prior to the collision. So once there is a collision, what this is doing, once there is a collision, the last 5 seconds of that crash is recorded and locked inside of the airbag control module. For trucks and buses, it's a bit different, right? They store more information, and however though, the black box in the vehicle for the trucks is stored in the engine of the motor vehicle and not inside of the compartment of the vehicle. So let us look further again at what is happening here. So it is located at different locations inside of the vehicle. So it's on the arm, on the floor console, on the vehicle compartment. And so this is areas where it is, and this is another schematics as it relates to the vehicle itself, where the thing is. I hope I'm not moving very fast. Now, we're going to go a bit further now into what is happening here. So these are the vehicles, and I would like everyone to look here at it. These are the vehicles that are, for the most part, we can access right now in Jamaica. So if a vehicle of any of these names that you are seeing on your screen, once these motor vehicles are involved in a traffic crash, Jamaica has the capacity to analyze the black boxes of these vehicles, right? However, though, there are basically different systems. So you have the BOSH system, which I'm showing you the BOSH system now. The BOSH system have over 50 plus vehicles on it. However, though, if you won't see Kia and Hyundai here. Why? It's because they are on a different platform. They are on the GIT platform. Now, vehicle manufacturer decide which platform they are going to be on. So that's a decision for Kia and Hyundai to make. And there are a few other motor vehicles that follow the same suit also. Now, how does this work? First, we need to enter that data inside the system. So the VIN, we need the VIN number or the chassis number of the vehicle, or in some vehicle, you use the frame number, right? So we would enter that number here, right? Or we can also read it directly from the VIN from the vehicle. So once we connect connect to the OBD2 port of that motor vehicle, we can then read through the VIN. You don't have to type in the VIN number all the times. Now, once that is done, you then will get you'll be able to get a report. Now it's critical for persons who do these things are persons who are analysts and technicians. So your technician would be the one who will access the data, and your analyst will be the one who would analyze the data. So what I'm going to do for show you today is more of analysis, right? To show you what it is that is stored in that motor vehicle that you are driving. For the most part, you may or may not be aware, but we're just trying to ensure that you are aware now, right? So for example, the first thing we're gonna show you is that we are able to know which section of the vehicle was involved in a crash. So looking at this graph is highlighting that this crash was a frontal crash. How do we know that? Because the graph is in a negative direction. The graph is traveling in a negative direction. Therefore, I mean that this vehicle, when it was hit, it slowed down, right? So when this vehicle got involved in the collision, it slowed down. So this is in the negative direction. Now, when a vehicle hits, when two vehicles collide frontally, there's a slowing down taking place, right? Now, it also not only tell you that it's the front of the vehicle crash, it also tell you at the rate at speed at which this vehicle slowed down. This is 32.7 miles per hour, which is 50 odd kilometers per hour. Now, this means this is telling us something now. And this tells a very big story now. This is telling us the rate at which the persons in the vehicle and also the vehicle themselves, their body would have been slowing down. And 50 odd kilometers per hour is not a good speed for the human body to be slowing down at, because remember now the internal organs will also be affected. So that is how we'll know if it's a frontal crash. Now, we also we will know whether it's a rear end crash by looking at the graph. If the graph is in the positive direction, right, what will happen is that we will see a vehicle that is bumped into the rear going forward. Just imagine, if somebody is bumping into the rear of a vehicle, that vehicle will go forward, right? So, and this rate of the movement here is 1.7 miles per hour, which is about 2 odd kilometers per hour. So this is how we know whether it's the front or the rear being hit. Now, one other thing that you have to do, you have to then check to find out whether or not you check the vehicle to see if that corroborate, and then you will move. Now, you have what is known as a rollover crash. Now, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a vehicle that is totally out of control. They're going up and down. This is what happens when a vehicle rolls over. So it also shows the roll rate, the rate at which the vehicle is going, also show the roll angle, the angle at which the vehicle is moving, right? So all of these things happen in short period of time. To also highlight the millisecond in which these crashes occur. For the most part, this is how your rollover scenario will move. So when the vehicle is rolling over, it is moving laterally. So hence then you can see how the behavior of that driver was operating at the time. Now, the other situation I would like to show you is the whole matter of if the right side got hit or the left side. In this situation, it will tell you if the right side get hit, right? So in this crash, it's the right side of the motor vehicle that got hit, right? So again, we will corroborate that by looking at the vehicle, and then we will see the speed at which this side of the vehicle slowed down by, and then we will then be able to do further calculations to know what to expect from the occupants of the vehicle in terms of injuries. Also, the same thing occur whether it is the left side. So this one, the left side, also tells you where to. We see it's closer to the left front door. So we're expecting the impact to be there. So we will corroborate everything. So that's how we know the sides at which the motor vehicles would have been hit. And all of these things are being recorded in a vehicle that is equipped with an airbag, right? Once you have an airbag in the motor vehicle, this is the type of data that your vehicle is storing. Don't worry if you just find out, don't worry. You know now, right? Now, what it does further too, it will tell you the generation of that event data recorder in the motor vehicle. If you look ECU generation, it is saying 2004. 04 means 2004, right? It is telling us it record all pages. It's also telling that the freeze signal is on. Now, what that means when freeze signal is on, it means that the airbag would have deployed. Now, once the airbag in a motor vehicle deploys, all that data in that motor vehicle, in that airbag control module, is locked in permanently. Let me go again. If the airbag flies or the airbag deploys, that airbag control module is locked. Everything is locked permanently. Why do I say that? I say that because there are situations where motor vehicles are involved in traffic crashes where the airbags are not deployed. There will still be a recording there. But if there's another crash, that data can get overridden, right? So I just want to make that clear. We have what is known as diagnostic trouble code. This is very important because what this does, this highlights to the vehicle manufacturer whether or not there is trouble with the airbag control module. So whenever traffic crashes occur, we would analyze that to check that now. Now, a critical thing that we need to also understand in a crash, in this thing, it is recording how many events or crashes are in this vehicle. Now, I would like to say this, that I have seen many cases where persons have bought motor vehicles that were crashed, but they were never aware, right? So this basically tells you how much time the vehicle was involved in an event, how many times the vehicle crashed. That was enough to cause the airbag control module to wake up, right? So here, and it will also tell you whether it's the front or the rear. And as I showed you earlier, we have to determine whether or not it's the front or we have to determine whether or not it's the rear. If you look here, it tells you about side crashes, right? So it tells you 2 side crashes here, it tells you 1 front rear. But here we are seeing 6 collisions occurring here, right? 6 events, right? So therefore, this was taken from a Toyota motor vehicle. And how Toyota records the data is that it records 2 front rear, 2 side crashes, and 2 rollover. So if there are more than 2, it will only keep the recent ones. It won't keep the last ones. So therefore now, we can categorically say, based on what we are seeing here, there were 3 other side crashes that this motor vehicle was involved in here, because we are seeing 6 being from, there were no more front rear, there were no rollover. So this vehicle seemed to have involved in overall 5 side crashes. Now, another thing that so it will tell you now if it's a rollover. In this situation, this vehicle was involved in more than one rollover crashes. If you look here, you'll see three events. So therefore, this vehicle collided 3 times. And all 3 crashes were a rollover. How do we know that? It's because we are not seeing the number 1 here. And number 1 is not front rear, and number 1 is not side crashes, right? Now, this is the part where it gets more interesting. It is recording how many persons or who have on seatbelt. The driver is buckled, the passenger is buckled, right? Very important. It also tells you how many times the key was turned in this motor vehicle. So it's recording how many times you turn the key in the motor vehicle. So if you turn the key 115 times, it's gonna record that. Now, at the time of downloading the information, the key was turned 135 times. Now, when this vehicle collided, right, it's longitudinal change in velocity. That is, longitudinal is going straight, right? So when the vehicle was going straight, vehicles have both longitudinal movements and lateral movements. So there are both, the forces are operating, different forces are operating whenever a motor vehicle is moving. Now, therefore, now we need to know what is the longitudinal movement of this vehicle when it collides, what's the lateral movement. So in this case, it's showing us that when the vehicle was going straight, when it collided, it slows down longitudinally at 35 miles per hour, and it slows down laterally at 1 miles per hour. Now, by virtue of having that data, then we can find the angle at which the collision took place. And therefore, once we know the angle, then we can position the vehicles accordingly and can do further analysis, right? So this type of data is very important for analysts. This type of data is also important for persons who are looking at crashes. So this crash that I just showed you a while ago, it had very small angular collision. Crash severity, one can determine the level of injuries to be expected. We're going to talk about that. Seatbelt was worn by both front seat occupants. We got that from there. The key was placed in the ignition state a certain number of times, both at crash and at download. And this was a complete recording of the crash. Now we're gonna move a bit quicker now. Now it also tells you, the seat that you are sitting in the motor vehicle, if you are not aware, be aware now that this seat is connected to the airbag control module and data has been collected. So if you should carry the seat backward, rearward, that will be recorded. If you carry the seat forward, it will there. Now, why is this important? This is also important for you to know this. So just in case persons are trying to say they were driving and who was driving from who wasn't driving, then you can determine that, right? Analysts can determine that. Right? So the data will be here, right? So that helps you. You will see the shift position. What gear was this motor vehicle in at the time of the collision? Forward, right? If you look further down the pre-crash data, 5 seconds before the crash, you will see that at 4.3 seconds before the crash, the driver was going at 30 kilometers per hour, and the driver was on brake between 4.3 to 2.3 kilometers per hour. Now, if you look at the RPM values, it's at 800 kilometers per hour. Now, your RPM values, once the engine is turned on the motor vehicle, you'll have a reading, right? Only time the RPM value will be at 0 is if the engine is not turned over. Now, also, one thing we also need to look at is this acceleration rate. This tells us whether or not the driver is on brake or off brake. So once acceleration rate, it's measured in volts, it's 0.78. We know that the driver foot is on the brake pedal. Once it is above 0.78 volts, we know the driver foot is on the gas pedal. And if you look at 0.3, there's a transition taking place right here to here. So at 0.3, the driver is at 24, but he's increasing his acceleration. You just press on it. So we get good information from that spectrum. Now, it's very, very important to see that we understand that this type of information can help us in our investigative process. Now, this feature, why was this placed in motor vehicles? From as far back as 2012, there's a NHTSA rule coming out of the United States of America that requires all motor vehicle manufacturers who are selling vehicles to the United States to ensure that the event data recorder is in the motor vehicle. We have the ability, see, to look at to know whether or not vehicles run off road and how they run off road, and then we can go back now to analyze what took place. So I'm showing you a scenario here. We spoke earlier about angles being recorded. I am showing here that in a crash, we can see what the drivers are doing. So if you look here, this driver here is holding the steering at 0 degrees on the road. So your steering is measuring angles, right? Everything is measured. Everything is accounted for, and the event data recorder is storing that information. The driver is, the shift position here is in drive. That means that, and so he's moving, he's not reversing, he's not parked, he's not in neutral, right? No. At some point in time, this driver decided that he's going to, at 1.8 seconds before the collision, the driver is moving the steering at 6 degrees to the left. And the driver is moving 9 degrees to the left. Then between 1.3 seconds to 0.8 seconds before the collision, the driver is moving to 36 degrees. So you're moving from 9 degrees to the left to 36. Why is he doing this? He's seeing something, he or she is seeing something coming. They're trying to take evasive action. But another 0.5 seconds later, at 0.3 seconds before the crash, driver is moving it at 60 degrees to the left. This is serious, right? The crash occurred somewhere here, right? And then you see the recording at 9 degrees. So this is the type of data that it shows. So either highlights a vehicle that run off the road, and then you can corroborate that. It also highlights what was the behavior of the vehicle, the other driver, right? And this area where the crash occurred, if it was a 50-kilometer zone, all right, we would say that this driver was traveling above the speed limit, right? So 75, 75, 75. But if the speed limit for this area is, say, 80 kilometers per hour, we would say that this driver is traveling at the speed limit. Now, what else is happening here? We know the driver was off the brake up until 0.23 seconds. We know he got on the brake at 1.8 to 1.5, and then he moved off afterwards, right? We saw some brake pressure here. Now, I'd like everyone to know that these vehicles can tell you how much pressure was applied to the brake. The maximum amount of pressure that can be applied to the brake is 12.14 megapascals. It is measured, brake oil pressure is measured in megapascals. So we can then see what the further behavior of the driver is. And as I said before, these are in vehicles equipped with the airbag. And therefore you'd have an airbag control module. Now we're looking at a different scenario here. Everything I'm showing you here are real things that occur some places across Jamaica. I can't tell you exactly where because I don't remember, right? This is only for presentation purposes, right? All right, what I can tell you is that this area where this crash took place, it's a 50-kilometer zone, right? Speeding at 114 in 50-kilometer zone, right? So you will see the driver going at 4.95 seconds before the crash. And as I told you earlier, for motor cars and pickups and SUVs, it is recording data up to the last. It locks the data into the airbag control module up to 5 seconds before the crash. So once there is a crash, it locks in. Now, remember, it's recording the data as the vehicle go along, right? So it is still there, but it locks it, and therefore, by virtue of that, this is the data that we have access to. Now, if you look here, you'll see a driver accelerating mildly, right? Then all of a sudden, at 2.95 seconds, the driver foot is off the brake and is on the brake pedal, right? Now, here, then we see that there is no acceleration taking place because you can't accelerate when you have your foot on the brake pedal. Now, the crash occurred here, right? The vehicle slowed down to 57 kilometers per hour before impact, and we see where the driver would have released the gas pedal. Now we do further analysis. We are able to look at how much did the vehicle slow down between 2.95 seconds to crash. And what we are seeing is that it slowed down at 10 kilometers per hour per second, equivalent to 50% braking. So we see here that this wasn't panic braking. Then what we will do, we'll then have to corroborate that with the scene evidence, whether it is a skid marks and other driver behaviors. Now the other crash now, this is a crash that took place, if I am recalling correctly, this crash is very, very serious. No, at 88, at 4.2 seconds before the crash, this driver was at 88 kilometers per hour. And again, this occurred in a 50 kilometer zone. Driver, for the most part, was off the brake, right? Was off the brake, right? The driver only put his foot on the brake right here at the crash, right? Only brake when the crash happened. So this crash vehicle slows down at 0.5 kilometers per hour per second. Basically, no braking application taking place here, right? Would have noticed here that what the driver did at 2.2, between 2.2 and 1.2 seconds, the driver removed his foot from off the accelerator pedal. And straight through, the driver had his foot off the accelerator pedal. The driver did not engage the brake at any point in time here, right? So the driver in this case applied no brake, right? Also, we have another collision at 100 kilometers per hour. Again, this is a 50 kilometer zone. And we are seeing here a situation here now where the last 5 seconds, what this driver was doing, this driver removed his foot from off the gas pedal between 4.1 to 1.1 seconds. However, at 0.1 second before the collision, the driver engages the brake pedal. That's very, very late, right? It takes you 14 meters to stop. If you're locking up a brake, your brake at 50 kilometers per hour, you need 14 meters to do that, right? So if 100 kilometers per hour, you're looking at 20 odd meters, you need to be able to stop. At this point in time, the driver wasn't able to stop, so the impact occurred, right? Someone died in this crash again, right? Now, again, a similar situation like the previous one. Again, in this case, the driver recognized that there was some impediment ahead, and the driver would have reacted to the eventualities in the traffic environment. But again, it was a bit late because the person got hit and the person died. Now, one other thing I would like to say to everyone here, it only takes 30 speed limit, a speed of 30 kilometers to kill a pedestrian, right? Because what normally happens is that the pedestrian head tends to hit the A, the B, and the C pillars of these motor vehicles, which are basically rigid structure. And on Friday, I'm gonna speak about safe vehicles based on the queries that persons have asked us. So I'll speak about the different components of the motor vehicle that really can be treacherous to occupants and also to pedestrian, motorcyclists, and pedal cyclists, right? But I just want you to understand that it is not high speed. I have seen pedestrians being hit at 38 kilometers per hour and dying, right? And 20, I've seen them hit at 20 odd kilometers per hour. Because remember now that that rigid structure on the motor vehicle, that is what create the impact. Remember, Newton's third law of motion said that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And therefore, we need to be very careful as we operate in the network. Now, again, this was a tweet that was done on March 26th. No, yeah, March 26, 2017 at 9:19 a.m. Yes, I must say though, the black box is very popular. A lot of lawyers and insurance companies are leveraging it. And it has helped a lot in many litigations across our country and across globally. Now, I want to make something extremely clear, right? I am not a medical doctor. I just love mathematics and I love the sciences. I love physics. Not all the sciences, just physics. I love physics, right? Because it's life. Now, what I would like, based on our analysis of traffic crashes, and I must say, previously, when I first came across this, I really thought that it was only, I didn't thought it was relevant to the Jamaican situation. I really thought that it was only for the North American market, right, and the European market. I didn't recognize that when I look at our data, it was basically the same thing that was happening. When we analyze and look at the situations, what we noticed was that for the most part, persons who are injured in traffic crashes, persons whereby the vehicles that were involved in the collision, where the change in velocity was greater than 97 kilometers per hour, I see persons dying, right? Even though they were in their seatbelt. Why this occurs? Because of the high number of energy that will come upon the human body, right? What we see also is that between 64 and 97 kilometers per hour, we are seeing persons receiving very serious injuries and also fatal injuries also too, right? So that's what we see. Under 32 kilometers, we see a shift between minor and serious injuries. And therefore, one other thing that we noticed too, a lot of these, when the change in velocity is this low and we see persons with serious injuries, what we see happening is that persons making a deliberate, calculated decision not to wear their seatbelt. Right, and by not wearing the seatbelt, what happens is that the head will hit that A pillar or the B pillar or the C pillar, and what occurs is that a lot of persons suffer from traumatic brain injuries. So you can reduce, in case you're involved in a collision, you can reduce the effects of traumatic brain injuries by just wearing your seatbelt, so that so in case of the collision, your head doesn't swing and hit that A pillar. Remember, in a crash, you really have no control over the body, and that is why the seatbelt is there as a restraint device to hold you down into the seat. Now we are, whatever position you were seated in the crash, prior to the crash and in the crash, the seatbelt will lock into that position. So for example, if you were not wearing your seatbelt and you're involved in a collision, right? When a collision happens, the seatbelt will be locked in. It won't be able to move. No one will be able to move it. You're gonna have to cut that seatbelt, right? So it cannot be moved. Now, also, what will also will happen if the seatbelt was worn, it will be able to move. It will be free flowing. So we will know whether persons were wearing seatbelt. We know, and we know also we are able to get a good idea whether or not who they say was driving. We have that intelligence from as far back as 2011, yes. Now, I would like to say something though. For pedestrians, I've seen pedestrians, pedal cyclists, and motorcyclists dying at delta V's where their change in velocity were about between 1 and 4 kilometers per hour. And the reason for that is because they are the most vulnerable road users. So all the kinetic energy from the motor car, it will come upon the bodies of those persons. I hope that everyone is following, everyone understands. I will just finish the other part of the presentation, and then I will allow for questions, and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. If I cannot answer, I promise you I will make a note of the question, and I will promise that I will respond to it accordingly. Now, apart from the airbag that is inside of the motor vehicle, there's also, in more recent times, a lot of more convenience is happening with vehicle technology. So in-vehicle technology has changed a lot, and I must say that there are benefits and there are disadvantages and there are risks. So one of the things that I would like to speak about is that this infotainment system that is in the motor vehicles, Bluetooth technology specifically, and to show you how is it that Bluetooth technology can be leveraged to investigate and analyze traffic crashes, so that hopefully knowledge is power. The Bible said that my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. So we hope that by sharing this presentation with you, you will then become road safety influencers, ambassadors for your family first, for your community, and for your workplaces, and then for your country. If everybody do that, we'll have better stuff. And I must say, this is the first time we are doing our presentation this way, and you'd have understand that this is the COVID-19 situation has really forced us to really start to think and do things a bit differently to ensure that we are not disobeying the rules and regulations that govern our beloved country. Now, so we'll speak about the infotainment system that is inside the motor vehicle. Now, vehicle systems are constantly collecting performance metrics, and it's scanning the external environmental conditions and processing telemetry data and communicate with other vehicles and infrastructure. So you'd have noticed that the technology is moving rapidly, where vehicles will they have been, but just that we don't have them fully here yet, where the vehicles can communicate with other vehicles. This is the modern world in which we are living. Vehicles are much more electronic more than ever before. So you find that even the internal combustion vehicles, the ICE vehicles, those are phasing out. For next 20 to 30 years, you may not have them. You may have mostly electric vehicles. Now, your typical vehicle, right? Modern vehicle have over 100 communicating computer systems that are communicating and capturing treasure of data. Now, I told you earlier that the airbag control module, once a vehicle has an airbag, it has an airbag control module. Inside of the airbag control module is a thing known as event data recorder, known as black box, right? And I've shown you some of the data that it collects. Now, the vehicle infotainment system collects much more data. It is collecting routes. It's collecting vehicle events, it's collecting location data, it's collecting connected devices, it's also connecting media. And I will go through all of these with you. If you have Bluetooth in your motor vehicle, please to watch this part of the presentation. It's not very long, very short, but it will provide you with some insights and some information what is happening. Now, one of the things that it does is that it stores temporal data that are stored in the motor vehicle, will answer key questions for investigators and provide investigators with quality intelligence to aid the investigative process. The data stored in the infotainment system will undoubtedly aid the investigative process and enhance justice for road safety. And remember, I told you in activity 5, pillar 5, activity 5 of the UN Decade of Action for Road Safety, it requires all countries across the world, or members of the United Nations, to ensure systems are in place And Jamaica has I would say we have a fairly good traffic accident and reconstruction capacity. We have built out that capacity over the past few years, and I think that Jamaica can compete with Europe and North America in this area. We have very good persons who have been doing very good work in this area, both in the private and in the public sector. Information stored in the in-vehicle infotainment system can be very useful to law enforcement officials who are also involved in homicide investigation. Why do I say this? Because you can use that data to do a lot of analysis on the motor vehicle. The information stored in the vehicles are in the vehicle. So even when the vehicle is sold, the information is still there. It cannot be removed. It is there. It is there. That infotainment system stores a treasure trove of information. Even with fire, I've seen the guys being able to access data. Oftentimes, the new owner of the vehicle is unaware of this vehicle. I want to say something. You see, once you have downloaded your phone into your, your phone book into the motor car infotainment system, it is there for life. You hear? I just want you to know that. Modern vehicles are storing and recording critical pieces of information in infotainment system. The Bluetooth technology for road safety in the areas of traffic crash analysis, investigation, and reconstruction. So what it does, it records vehicle events, crucial pieces of information, activities such as door opening in time. So was the doors open? Gear changes. What's the speedometer reading? What's the ignition cycle? Speed logs, right? So where were you, right? It's also stored, where were you? How long you stayed there? What was your movement? Where did you move from? How many times you spend at this particular location? It's recording. And this help us in terms of analyzing traffic crashes to arriving at a nexus. So for example, if somebody is leaving their house at 5 a.m. to reach Montego Bay Airport, they have to catch a flight at 6:30. And so it will record once the vehicle is connected, once the phone is connected, it will record the data. And this will help us to know, give us good ideas how the driver was behaving, because all of these vehicle event data and location data would have been recorded, and it would have been easy for us to capture. Now, other piece of information I would like everyone under the sound of my voice to be aware of is that any device you connect to this infotainment system which exists in the modern vehicles, it will record it, it will capture it. So if you push devices in the USB port, it will identify that thumb drive, it will identify whatever was put in there, and that data again will be locked in there, right? So be aware of that. Be careful when connecting your phone and downloading your address books to vehicles equipped with Bluetooth technology. If it's not your vehicle, we advise you to not to do it, right? The data here that is stored, as I said before, it is permanently stored. Even if you sell the vehicle, provide useful information to law enforcement and researchers when looking at the role of cell phone in traffic crashes. So this is where we can know whether or not persons were on the cell phone or off the cell phone. So data is stored in a motor vehicle. Just remember that. We'll be able to determine who could have been in the vehicle at a particular time. So all of these data, all of these information is stored in your motor vehicle. And once the analysts sit down and analyze it, they can come different conclusions. Now, another thing that the infotainment system in the motor vehicle is collecting and storing is text messages and phone calls, both incoming, outgoing, and missed calls, right? Phones that are connected to the motor vehicle via Bluetooth technology. And remember now that each telephone has a unique identifier. Who manufactured this phone and all of these different number system. Another thing that this Bluetooth technology infotainment system is capturing and recording is that it's highlighting routes where did the vehicle travel, right? How long did the vehicle travel for, and how long did it stay at particular location? Now, once you have this information, then you can easily bring in that information to Google Earth and then leverage Street View, right? Everybody, if you don't know about Street View, you can Google what Street View is. But Street View is basically tells you what was at a particular location over a period of time. You can also go back in the past for that information. So if the crash occurred 2 years ago and you have these information, you can then look at what the geometrics of this particular location was. It also highlights the speed at which these vehicles were traveling at, right? So the infotainment system basically provides profound intelligence, investigates and analysis relates to the sequence of events that occur prior to the collision, aiding to identify patterns of life and unusual events that happen around the collision, aiding to determine the timelines of activity, and establish a chain of significant events that can assist the investigative process and link persons to collision scenes. Phones and other connected devices to the motor vehicle will provide quality road safety intelligence: who was driving, how many persons on board when the 4 doors open within milliseconds of each other. So very critical piece and good piece of information it can provide. Provides historical data to show where a vehicle was at a specific time, thus allowing for more specific looking and aid in the process of determining if the collision was staged or legitimate. Now, this is very important. There are persons who practice the staging of collisions because they want to make money from off the insurance companies and for various reasons. It aids in us in identified areas visited, areas frequented, location travel, and aided investigating and developing behavior patterns. Determine how long particular locations were visited. This could provide valuable intelligence if they were also looking at homicide also. Crucial information are being stored in the vehicle system that should be leveraged for both road safety and crime safety. Technology is here, and the vehicles are crying out. The vehicles are crying out. We have the information. It is saying, technology, vehicles equipped with airbags and Bluetooth technology, see? They are crying out, and they are saying these words: I have the information. Access me, and the puzzle will be solved. Listen to the vehicle. We must listen to the vehicle. The other thing that it critical piece of information to also let us know about is once the phones are connected, information system provide unique identifiers that tie individual to specific vehicle. There's no, right? So here now we can then be able to pinpoint whether or not these crashes, cell phones are playing a role in these crashes. Oftentimes persons, it identify known associate and establish communication pattern between them. Oftentimes persons will switch persons or add persons to the vehicle in order to engage in insurance fraud, as oftentimes insurance companies are not aware of all the tactics that person could use to defraud them. Phones can be checked to acquire valuable information, determine who may have been present or aware of key information during an incident. So this is very good to know who or whom was in the motor vehicle, and persons will then can be questioned in accordance. Of course, everything will have to be done in accordance with the law. And this is basically what a type of infotainment system look like. And here ended my presentation. We have approximately 23 minutes left. Are there any questions? Any questions? If there are any questions, you are free to ask them.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Yvonne.
Right.
I'm just coming from a transport authority regulations meeting, and we're looking on the question of whether music should be allowed in public passenger vehicles. Is there anything connected to this and music, and any scientific or data showing anything that there's whether or not there's a correlation between music playing in vehicle and road safety?
All right, I would say that music can be distracting. It can have a negative influence I've not seen much research done as it relates to that, but what I can say based on my experience, there was a crash that took place in Jamaica. I know that there are persons online. I'm seeing persons from as far as Africa and the Caribbean here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening
Okay.
in. I would say that there, based on my experience, there was a crash that took place that 4 persons died along Spanish Town Road. And when we dig down further to find what's happening, they were listening to a type of music that really empowered them to behave a certain way. So music does have both a positive and negative influence, but I think we'll have to do further research on that to be able to see if there's any level of significance with that, right? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Feel free to ask your questions. Do not be afraid. I will try to answer to the best of my ability. All right, I would like to say something more about the airbag system as it relates to traffic crashes. Initially, when the vehicle manufacturer placed the airbag control module in the vehicle, a lot of it has to do with product liability. They wanted to know whether or not the product was a good product and that the airbags were operating properly. So they wanted to ensure that they protect themselves so that there is not any massive lawsuit coming against them in terms of persons who may say the airbag fails. That is why whenever we are analyzing the crashes, we try to ensure that we look to see if there are any form of diagnostic trouble codes. If there are diagnostic trouble codes, we look to see what type of trouble exists and to see whether or not it could play a role into the crashes. Now, one thing that you will find out from most vehicle manufacturers, so I want everybody to get it clear that no vehicle manufacturer placed the airbag control module in the vehicle for it to be used to investigate and reconstruct, analyze traffic crashes. And the reason why I believe the reason of why, and they made that categorically clear, right? Well, however, now scientists, law enforcement found out that, and through numerous tests, found out that this information is very valid. But if you should ask any vehicle manufacturer to come, they will not come. They will tell you point blank it's not designed for that. Because really and truly, the reason for that is because they don't want to get their workers clogged up into court matters and so forth. And then hence the reason why you have special investigators, analysts, and reconstructionists who specialize in this type of analysis to provide the piece of information. All the information I've supplied concerning event data recorder and black box issues, it only applies to motor cars, SUVs, and pickups. It doesn't apply to trucks and buses. The trucks and buses are a different dynamic. I will have to do a different presentation on that because their module is not inside of the compartment of the vehicle like the cars, which are in various parts of inside the vehicle. It's stored in the engine of the truck. And for the most part, some of them are proprietary. So for example, I can tell you the Volvo and Mack, those have to be done. If you have a Volvo and a Mack truck, you'll have to take it directly to the Volvo and Mack dealer for them to help you. The Cummins, there are software available there with training, etc. You'll be able to. But notwithstanding that, you can still get assistance. This is both the infotainment system and also the black box is not a replacement whatsoever for traditional investigative method. You still have to you still have to measure the scene, you still have to measure those skid marks. You still need to do your calculations, depending on what took place, if the vehicle rotated, if the vehicle was traveling linearly. You still have to do all of that nonetheless. But the black box, these things help you, the infotainment system. I am of the view that very soon you will see a lot of motor vehicles leveraging the infotainment system much more, and you will see more of it coming. You'll begin to see insurance companies beginning to solve their cases much easier just by analyzing the infotainment system of motor vehicles involved in crashes. So I would just like to let people know that if your vehicle is equipped with the Bluetooth technology capabilities and also an airbag, just know as night shall turn to day, your vehicle is collecting, storing, your vehicle is monitoring you. And sadly, you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it. Persons have asked what if a crash happened and the vehicle is extensively damaged, how do you read it? What we have to do, we'll have to remove the airbag control module from the motor vehicle and do what is known as a direct module analysis, right? So that means therefore we have to have additional cables that will allow us to do that analysis. And again, the traditional methods whereby you have to visit the scene, you have to analyze the scene, must be done. It's just part of the capacity that it helps you in terms of coming to better conclusion. Also, helping you to make more accurate calculations. We previously had a big issue finding out who was driving, but now through the black box technology and other techniques, we can know, right? So I hope that information help you. And guess what? The vehicles are being built with these things now. It's just like, oh, it's not certain vehicle now having Bluetooth now. It's almost it's becoming standard in all types of vehicles. So I just want everybody to know. I know there are a lot of persons. I know I'm seeing some persons who are from law enforcement, finance, and persons who deal with insurance here. I'm seeing some lawyers here also, and I'm seeing some engineers here also. And I'm just saying, I'd just like to encourage everyone to love the technology and just remember that it has very good use, right? Just ensure that persons who are going to do the analysis are properly trained and certified. But we have a good cadre of people in Jamaica who can analyze the black boxes of motor vehicles. We have to build the capacity for persons that relates to the infotainment system, which I must say it's a very strong system. The training is difficult. Training is difficult. That's what I would say about that. But it can be done. Persons have done it. So, are there any other questions? We have 14 minutes to go. Are there any questions? Feel free. Do not be afraid.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Coretta. I joined late, so I don't know if this was explained. But if the driver is under the influence of alcohol and on that accident, you did not reach that driver, is there any way you will be able to tell what stage that driver was in?
Coretta, can you tell us where you're from?
Guyana.
Guyana? Okay, very well.
Guyana.
Thank you very
Lindbergh,
much.
Guyana.
Thank you. We welcome our Guyanese friends. Thank you very much for joining. No, the black box would not be able to help you with that. The infotainment system will not be able to help you with that. However, we can look into the per se as telling you how much alcohol in the system, but we can look into that travel log, that driver log, and begin to see behaviors. We can map out that crash. So there are certain things that drivers do when they are on cell phones, if they are on cell phones, or when they are under the influence of alcohol. So if we see erratic driving and stuff like that, we can then zero in. However, though, remember now, we're gonna have to prove this for law enforcement purposes, because if we can't prove it, we really can't talk about it, right? So we'll have to do our background check, our research, to find. And this is where good investigation, police investigation come in now, whereby where were these persons coming from? Were they coming from a bar? If there was a bartender there, did you serve drink to this person? So that is what you have to do. But no, you can't get a rating, but you can get some clues as it relates to where you can go. Right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Right. Are there any more questions from anyone? Feel free to ask your question. You have 11 minutes to go. Presently here in Jamaica, we have 188 persons who have been killed in traffic crashes. Most of who died, about 30% of the persons who died were operating motorcycles. We believe that there is, looking at motorcycles, we believe that there is a black box there also. But for the most part, the vehicle, the motorbike manufacturers told us there is none. But we believe something is there to record because we see something on the bike. So we are looking to see, doing our research to see if there is anyone who have been able to access the data from these motorbikes that are involved in collisions. But for the most part, we have not been able to get any data from the computer of the motorbike as yet. We believe it is there. However, though, in light of the fact that we have so much motorcycles here, especially in the western section of the country, we have a big situation. I don't know if anyone here have that issue in their country, whereby we have a lot of head-on motorcycle collisions in our country. And one of the reasons for that is that motorcyclists tend to ride in the middle of the road on the white line. There's a culture that exists in Western Jamaica whereby persons are of the view that they should operate their bikes on that case. And we had a very horrible crash last year. So Kate Taylor, you have a question? Go ahead. Kate Taylor, you have a question? Go ahead. Hello, Kate Taylor. You're free to go ahead. Not here. Yes, Taylor, you can go ahead. Kate Taylor? Not hearing from Kate Taylor at all. I see his hand raised. Don't know what. Anyway, hopefully he or she will communicate with us. Yeah, so that's an issue that we have to deal with, and we have to try to see how best we can reculturize those persons to see how we can eliminate that gap, because that is what it called a needless crash. The crash occurred last week, Friday night. The motor vehicles, both vehicles were traveling on the white line. One operator decided he's gonna wheelie, which is operating the bike on one wheel, and then both vehicles collided in the middle of the road on the white line, and the vehicles gash fire. And then the vehicles stop at the same spot and they did not move. So once what we know from that, the physics tell us momentum before equal momentum after, and so those vehicles were really traveling at high speeds that would have caused them to get in that trouble. So Kate Taylor, would like to hear from you. Are there anyone else? Anyone have any questions, any queries? Any question, any query? Anyone learned anything that you never knew before? We'd like to get some feedbacks. Can we get some feedbacks? Right. I would like to use this opportunity to ask everyone who is here to just try to ensure that as you operate on a network, you do so safely, irrespective of which country you're here from. We know we have persons from Guyana, we have persons from Barbados, we have persons from Zambia and Ghana here, right? And we have persons from Jamaica here. Just to ensure that as you operate on a network, you drive for your family. Drive for your family, drive for your loved ones. As you walk on the road, look out for them also. And as you would have been operating on a network, please, if you have to go out at night, wear light color clothing. Do not wear dark color clothing. Ensure that you are visible to the persons who are operating motor vehicles out there. And also ensure that please do not walk on the road under the influence of alcohol. Right? We have situations where a person walk out of the rum bar and into the road and they get clapped by the motor vehicle. And that's very, very sad. That's not something we want persons to be doing, right? So we need to avoid all risk factors. Another thing we also need to do is always to wear our seatbelts. Ensure that the back seat passenger in the motor vehicle wear their seatbelt, right? Please. There are a lot of times when the backseat passenger parachute from the back and break the neck, injure the persons who are on the front seat. So if you're a front seat passenger, would like to appeal to you to ensure that you really and truly ensure that your backseat passengers are belted at all times. Ensure that your children also are not roaming around on the back seat of the motor vehicle, right? Ensure that your children are seated on the motor vehicle, and at no time we should really have our future. Remember, children are our future. They are our heritage, and we have to protect them as best as possible out there on the network. Another thing I'd like for persons to be aware of is that a lot of crashes occur because persons are tailgating, persons bump into people back. Now, if you cannot see the rear tire of the motor vehicle in front of you, you are too close, right? If you cannot see the front tire, if you cannot see the rear tire of the vehicle in front of you, you are too close.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Taylor, go ahead.
Okay, right. So my question is, if it is so dangerous when driving at high speeds, why did the manufacturer make cars to go at an average speed? Or why is the average car designed to drive at 108 kilometers per hour?
If it is so dangerous, I know you use the word if it is. It is dangerous.
Right.
It is dangerous for the human body to tolerate speeds over 80 kilometers per hour. And as I always tell people that if you crash at speed above 80 kilometers per hour, your seatbelt can't really help you. Why? Because the high levels of kinetic energy that will come upon the body. That's a major debate globally, and it's a matter of convenience and comfort. And it gives road safety person a lot of trouble here. People want the thrill of doing these things, and I think that is why the vehicle manufacturer do it. And then that is why countries now have to set laws and have speed limits in place to restrict people and to get people to behave properly. And that is why now, with the advent of the technology now, the highest speed I've seen a crash occur is 180 kilometers per hour, right? That's the highest speed I have ever seen. But that's a very good point you have highlighted. There's a point that has been mentioned by many persons, but the vehicle manufacturers are able to do what they want to do. But then again, countries now have to just make their decisions, and that's why countries put speed limits in speed limit laws in place to monitor that. And what also occurs too is that in some jurisdictions and in some companies, they would put what is known as a limiter on the vehicles that would limit the speed, the maximum speed at which the motor vehicle can travel at. But just remember, right, that even at 80 kilometers per hour, remember now it's a human body, and that's why it's very important for us whatever speed the vehicle is traveling into, we have to keep ourselves safe. Now, I will be speaking on Friday about safe vehicles. So I think you should watch that presentation on Friday. We're going to send out something on that. You should watch it, and we're going to talk about what can help you in case of a collision. Because
but before you move on,
yes.
Mr. Hare, in fact, you brought up the limit, and that is what I was going to head to next.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, why can't it be mandatory? Why can't it be made mandatory by the government that all vehicles carry a limiter? Say, put the limiter at, say, 120 kilometers per hour. Is that possible? If yes, why hasn't it been done as yet?
Remember that laws are passed through Parliament, right? That one now is
Yes.
what I am noting your point, and I will raise it to my superiors, right? It's a good suggestion, right? As a matter of fact, it's interesting that you brought this up, because today somebody called me about it. Before I came into this presentation, someone called me and spoke to me about it. We need to put limiters on motor cars and trucks to stop these people from driving at these high speeds. So I am writing down what you said, because one thing we want to do with this presentation is to ensure that we get the feedback from the public, and then so that we can improve our road safety affairs and our status. Right? Are there any you have any more things that you have in store for us, you want to see us do that we're not doing, or we can get this thing better? Mr. Taylor?
I mean, I would say that over the many years we have had so many road fatalities, and our public campaign, even though it is necessary, I'm not sure how effective it has been, because honestly, Jamaicans can be considered in some respect an unruly set of people, you know.
I'm going to say this, even though this is not the presentation for it, but since you raised it, public education, you see, is not the panacea, right? Road safety is a system. It's part of an ecosystem that includes the human being, the vehicle, and the environment. And all it takes is for a breakdown in just one area for it to happen. Now, one of the critical, so it requires you to look, when you look at road safety, you look at the vehicle. So the vehicles need to be safe, right? One, right? The human beings who are operating these vehicles need to be properly empowered, properly educated, provided all the necessary road safety information and tools needed, right? I'm seeing here my time is going to get cut very soon, but we have to look at critical things that will ensure that the environment is dealt with. So you're looking at the roads. So the roads need to be in good condition, have the requisite speed limit signs, speed marked properly, no potholes, right? Properly fixed up. So that's one element of it. We also battle with the environment. So you're looking at, for example, rain and fog and these things also play a role in traffic crashes, right? Another component is the enforcement part of it. Very important part of it too. But again, that's not the only thing, right? The other part of it is emergency response. When there's a crash, is there adequate emergency response systems, the hospital, the fire truck, etc. All these things need to be in operation. Another thing is that legislation. We need to have laws that deal with how we should operate on the network, and also to ensure that the laws are being current as much as, and we are doing a lot of work in these areas, right? But it's not, and the traffic environment itself need to be very friendly to people, very forgiving. So these are the stuff that need to be done for road safety to ensure that it's part of a system. So I don't want anyone to go away thinking that we can just educate people, we can just enforce it, we can just fix our roads and then everything. No, it's part of a system. We have to, and one of the critical systems, as you have pointed out, is that we have to get our human beings to operate in accordance with the law. We have to work with our people. And though we may see they behave in a certain way, we have to work with them and try to see how best we can get them to operate in accordance with the tenets of the laws. Are there any more questions? Any suggestions? Well, if there are no more questions, no more suggestions, I would like to thank you all on behalf of the Ministry of Transport and Mining Road Safety Unit for spending over 1 hour and 19 minutes with me. It's supposed to be 1 hour and 50 minutes still. But thank you very much for spending the time with us. And we are going to, and the next presentation that we are going to do is going to deal with vehicle safety. So we're going to speak about that, and we are going to speak about how we can keep ourselves safe. If there are any questions that you have, we are on social media. The Ministry of Transport and Mining and the Road Safety Units are on social media. So feel free to contact us. And just know that this is not a monologue, this is a dialogue. We are willing to work with everyone to stem this tide of traffic crashes that continue to permeate and ravish the socio-economic fabric of our society. So thank you very, very much, and have a good day. And see you on Friday. We'll send out the relevant information by tomorrow, and we will be up on Friday again, another presentation. We'll do the presentations at this time again to ensure that everything all right. So once again, thank you all for coming. Thank you very much for your time, and stay safe during this period, and God bless you all. Thank you.